Hi, this is Elena with Black Sheep 303 Creative, and my project today is, I'm really excited about it. It's a Yeti Christmas card using the Mama Elephant, me and my Yeti stamp set on the left there, and then Sentiments from a Yeti, which is the stamp set on the right. I have a weird affection for Bigfoot and Yetis, so I just had to have this stamp set when I saw it. So I'm going to be stamping the Yeti and 3 of the kids and the banner and the little Christmas tree and the star in Memento Tuxedo black ink onto Neenah Solar White cardstock. And now I'm going to show you the coloring of the Yeti because this was the most complicated coloring. The kids, for the most part, were just like straight coloring with one color. The tree I will show a little bit because I did do a little bit of blending. But if you want to know the exact numbers of the colors that I use, these are Spectrum Noir markers. I will have that information on my blog for like the kids' clothes and stuff. So anyway, to start off with, I have added shading with IG4 was the darkest color, and then I widened those shadows with IG2, and then this is IG1 that I'm using to blend that out. To kind of get a smoother blend between the body and the shading. I'm treating him as if he were sort of lit from the front. So just kind of shadows along the edges and maybe anywhere where like his hair would overlap or his face would go in or that kind of thing. Or like around his paws. I'm assuming his little paw pads would stick out a little bit. If you know anything about Yetis, you know they supposedly live in the Himalayas, so they would be white because they blend with the snow. So I wanted him to be mostly white, but of course I had to give him some fur, so I'm sort of dotting him or like adding little streaks with IG4 and IG2, and then I'm going to add a little bit of pink to make him cute and friendly to his cheeks and his paw pads, and then I will blend that with FS2. And then I'm going to add a little bit of shading around his face, like where his hair kind of overhangs his forehead with the IG2 marker. My IG2 is used so much the cap has basically faded off. And now I'm just blending in that again with the FS2 marker. And then, of course, I had to give him purple horns because, I don't know, just seemed like the right choice. So I did PL2 for the light stripe in the middle and then PL4 for the darker stripes on the outside. And then I'll take a little bit of PL5 and go along each side to add a little shadow, and I'll blend out the PL2 again just a little bit for that. And then for anywhere over there it didn't stamp perfectly, I used my Copic liner to fill in. And then for the trees, I'm using DG4 for like shading. And then on this little hat, I'm going to use the DG4. And then I will blend that out with the DG2. And those are both Illustrator markers. So slightly thinner tip on the brush tip end of that marker, which gets into these tiny spaces a little bit better. Although, boy, that green like really got saturated and it decided to bleed, so yay. But I usually clean that up with a white glaze pen, which I will do later, although I won't show you that. And then, as I mentioned, like most of the shade or the coloring on the kids was all done with like a single color. So I'm going to skip ahead because we'd be here all day if I showed you all the color. Now I added black glaze pen to his little claws there and his eyes. And then I'm taking my Spectrum Noir clear sparkle marker and just sparkling the heck out of him because, you know, Yetis are awesome, right? They have to be sparkly. And then I thought he was a little too gray, so I went back with my white glaze pen and I added like more like fur with that, and that seemed to help lighten him up a bit. Now, here's another thing that I really wanted to show because I'm really liking these. This is my first go with some Nuvo Aqua Flow pens, and I had never used these before. I bought these not too long ago. And this is the Winter Skies set. And so I'm using a piece of Arches hot press watercolor paper. So it's smooth as opposed to rough the way cold press is. And I've put down a base coat of water. And then you might have noticed I had a line drawn there because that was where I didn't want to go beyond that line because that's sort of where the scene is going to happen. And I'm just trying to blend out to make a night sky. So it's this really vibrant blue, really vibrant purple. Like, I was amazed at how saturated the color is in these, which is just gorgeous. And you can do this with zigs too, but with the amount of water that I use, and I use a lot, as you will see, to kind of get this blend to go, because you'll probably notice when you first put the color down like this with the black, it doesn't really blend, but then as you add more water and more color, it starts to blend better, and so you get like a much smoother blend between the various colors, and I absolutely loved it. It was super easy, and it stayed really like bright. The color is really, really nice. So, and there you can see the shine on the paper from my bad lighting. So you can see how wet I got the paper, and I tend to do that because I'm a very wet watercolorist. But I really liked the control that these pens gave you, and the color was just amazing. And like the zigs, it takes a lot more to get it to stay that bright. Like, I don't think you could keep it that bright with that much water, honestly, with the zigs. And so now I'm taking my Signo Uniball gel pen in white, and I'm adding stars. So it's like lighter stars towards the bottom, and then I'm darkening up or going over the stars on the top to make them brighter at the top. So it looks like a starry sky. And then I did fussy cut out all those little pieces. And now I'm going to add shading underneath my characters. So I'm just kind of eyeballing where they're going to be standing, and I'm adding shadow, really generic shadow, basically. Just kind of right under where they're standing, to have them grounded on that snow that they're standing on. So it's not they're not just floating in the scene. And it's super easy, and nothing special that I'm doing with the shading there. But I think it helps. And now I'm using a 6mm Elizabeth Craft Science double-sided adhesive to adhere down my Yeti, because he's pretty big. Oh, and that Mary banner, I didn't mention this, but I did a stamp Mary. That is another stamp that comes in the stamp set with Lawn Fawn Cranberry ink. I did use my Misty to do that because I did have to stamp it twice. And I'll show you how I stamped the Christmas in a little bit with my Misty on this too. Because anytime I'm stamping directly on something and I can't redo it, I'm trying to get in the habit of using my Misty more, and it does help a lot. So as you can see, I'm using my Zig 2A glue pen to adhere all the little kids down because they're so tiny. And then I have one little star that's going to go in this night sky. And okay, so here's my Christmas. So I didn't have quite the right shade of ink, so I decided to combine two shades of Hero Arts ink. So this is Emerald, and then I'm going to use Emerald Green, and then I'm going to use Forever Green just once on top to get kind of the right shade of green. I know it's a little weird, but it worked pretty well because that Emerald Green is like super Kelly green, and then the Forever Green's like olivey, and I needed something kind of in between, so it actually worked really well to combine them. And so that's what I did. It's a little bit of an experiment, but it worked nicely. And so I did stamp it twice using the Misty, and that made it come out nicely. Perfect. So here are my components. So this watercolor scene panel is 3 3/4. No, sorry. It's like 1/8 of an inch smaller. So it's 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. And then that black panel is 4 by 5 1/4, so it gives me a 1/16 of an inch border all the way around it. And then that pattern paper is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, so it's A2 sized. So I did want to have like a tiny, tiny black border all the way around. I didn't do the greatest job lining it up. It's a little bit smaller on the bottom, but oh well, handmade card. It is what it is. And I don't worry about that kind of thing too much. And then on the inside, I added "And Yeti New Year," which also comes in the cinnamon stamp set because, you had to kind of tie in the Yeti part of the card to have it make sense. And I'm stamping this with the Lawn Fawn Cranberry ink, again, to match the Mary on the outside. And I really like the way it came out. I love that background sky. I'm definitely going to get more of those Nuvo Aqua Flow pens because Those are pretty darn cool. And then that stamp set is amazing. Both the stamp sets are super cute, but the Yeti is so adorable. I wish they existed. Maybe they do. Who knows? But I like the idea of them existing. So that's why I have such a kind of soft spot in my heart for Bigfoots and Yetis. And so there's a good close-up of the coloring. And there's an overall look at the card itself. Oh, and that plaid paper was from the Photoplay Mad Plaid 6x6 paper pad. So I hope you liked the video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. As always, supplies are linked in the video description and over on my blog post. Here are 2 more holiday videos I've done in the past, including another Abominable Snowman video that I did last year. Thanks so much. Have a great day.